Banana Slammer! Donkey Kong Bonanza is here, and it's so funny that at this preview event, everyone before the show was talking 3D Mario, 3D Mario. We were talking 3D Mario, 3D Mario. Psych, 3D Donkey Kong. And you know what? This game, pun intended, slaps.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by this. Now I do want to say that this kinda is a 3D Mario. Like it is kinda.
It's 3D Mario.
Yeah, it's very obviously made by the Odyssey team.
Yeah,
it has that vibe to it. It feels like it. And I may or may not have seen Yoshiaki Koizumi watching people play it, so I'm pretty sure it was made by the Mario team. But what I found most intriguing about this was not necessarily just the concept of it. It's really cool that Donkey Kong is getting a new 3D platformer for the first time since the N64. It's also not necessarily just exciting that it is good, because it is, spoilers. The technological sense of what they're doing here is just so cool. Like, it is really hard to communicate just technologically how interesting this game is, because you can break everything. Like there are very few limits on how much of the terrain you can destroy as Donkey Kong, and they start you off in a banana mine where you really can go nuts.
Yeah, you really can. You can go coconuts. There's so much to destroy. Like, what's interesting too is, like, not only are you like digging just holes, but like there's stuff, there's caves that you can happen upon, and I found that the game was like telegraphing that information to you in a way that felt natural, and I was able to stumble upon caves that, you know, they're just behind a big slab of wall. You're not going to know what's back there, but the game is doing enough to nudge you in that direction.
All right, so what I found super interesting about Donkey Kong was just how much they kind of doubled down on exploration. Like, Odyssey was very much a game that incentivized just exploring the areas around you, right? Like, not just going in to find the next encounter with Bowser or looking for the next story beat, but they really wanted you to be looking for moons everywhere. You know, like, they wanted you to just, if you saw something that piqued your interest, to go for it. And with Donkey Kong, they've expanded that to another dimension, quite literally. You can look at just a plain stretch of ground and see like a little tinge of yellow or orange poking out, and you're like, I am just gonna dig deep into the earth and find what's here. And it's always something. It's always something, and I just find that to be such a compelling idea. The demo that we played was in two parts. You get this mine where you can look for banana gems, which I have to say, I love how they've characterized DK in this.
Me too.
Every time you shatter a gem, he like hoovers up the pieces and eats it, and he's so pleased with himself every single time.
This man is hungry.
Yeah, he loves this. And I also love the way that the people around him react to him doing that. Like, there was one instance in which there was just, you know, a nameless NPC monkey who was like, hey DK, look at this banana I found, and I just ate it. And then he's like, you can't go eating another monkey's banana.
Oh man, the fun thing too is, like, you destroy the banana, like you have to beat it up before you eat it. So it's a very visceral reaction that Donkey Kong has, and that very much shows up in the crazy facial expressions that he has now, thanks to his new design that is more reminiscent of his arcade appearance. Which 10 out of 10 choice. I love that they've gone that direction. It's reflected in the new Mario Kart as well. Donkey Kong, I think, looks better than ever.
Yeah, they've done a lot to really reimagine Donkey Kong, which is a funny thing to say about one of Nintendo's oldest characters, right?
Yeah.
He's undergone a reinvention, the likes of which Mario, I would say, had never seen until Wonder. Mm-hmm. And this is a DK that I actually like. And I'm somebody who, if I'm being 100% honest, just never really clicked with Donkey Kong. DKC 1 was fantastic. I played that one, I loved it, but that was where I stopped. I got off. And for me, this is a deeply interesting revitalization of him. I just, there's so much to like here. Like, I can admire it on a technical level, on a gameplay level. Nintendo has never really ever put this level of effort into a Donkey Kong game, in my opinion.
No, this is the Odyssey team, and they're going the Odyssey levels deep in reinventing Donkey Kong and making a platformer that just feels good to play. The way he moves reminds me of Super Mario Odyssey. He even has a Donkey Kong roll, which is not too unlike the roll you have in Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, I really think what I like most about this, though, because you get so much of that Odyssey DNA here. In things that are both complex and simple, right? Like you said, the movement, but also things like the color palette, right? It's very reminiscent of that kind of muted pastelish color palette that Odyssey had in so many places. Like specifically, I was getting strong like Luncheon Kingdom vibes from portions of the trailer that we saw. But one thing that I thought was interesting was the ways in which it's very much not like Mario. DK can just scale walls. Like, you don't have to find clever ways up, right? Like, you can just jump on a wall and he will shoot up it super quickly. But say you don't want to climb, punch a hole in it and then start punching up, until you find your way through. There are so many options here. It truly feels like you're in a sandbox where there's no rules. You can just do whatever you want.
And I'm glad you talked about punching up, because I found myself frustrated with the controls in the first few minutes. I was like, why is punch the Y button and jump is the A button? They are too far apart from each other, and that was really unnatural to me until I realized what the other two buttons did. A button jumps, the top face button punches up. The left face button punches in front of you, and the bottom face button punches down. Like, there's just a logic to it. You press the up button to punch up, you press the down button to punch down, and you press the one right in front of you to punch forward. And once I made that connection, the whole control scheme just clicked for me.
Yeah, it is really fun to see a game in which, the protagonist is just he's just violent. Like Donkey Kong, there's no better way to describe him other than that he is on a rampage. It's not even like a violent, nasty thing. It can be. It can be. One of my favorite things is the ZR button. You can just rip a chunk of the earth out underneath your feet and hurl it at whatever you want.
I don't know if we have footage of this, but there are a couple of areas in the game, like bonus areas, like in the original Donkey Kong Country. And you enter them in a very similar way to Donkey Kong Country. And one of them that I found was an arena battle against 3 monsters. And the monsters were like covered in stone. And on the inside of them was like a little golden skeleton that you could blow up once you got the exoskeleton off, right? And I was curious. I was like, well, I can pull rock out of ground. Can I pull rock off of Guy? So I ran up to one of them, jumped on his head, and I pulled his skin off of him and threw it at him. Oh, wow. The staff member who was at my station was like, I've never seen anyone do that.
Yeah, I did that same challenge. I didn't think to do that. I just pulverized them with my fist. I just kept punching them till there was nothing left, which is horrifying when you think about it. But I ended up having my own unique experience, and it was one of those things that I love about the way Nintendo designs games. So at one point in the demo, I had found just these mysterious floating triangles, just, kind of hovering in midair, and no explanation, no tutorial. And I was like, well, I'm going to throw stuff at them and see what happens. So I ripped up a piece of rock and threw it at these triangles, and they formed around them to make a giant floating block in the air, and there were 2 of them, so I just did it. And then at the very end, I found Cranky Kong, and the person at the demo booth was just like, I haven't seen anybody find Cranky Kong. I didn't know he was here. And Cranky Kong makes some, he gives DK a hard time and then gives him a banana gem and then complains about Mario, which I just thought was one of the funniest things.
I have a crackpot theory, and I don't even think it's that far-fetched. This is a sequel to Mario Odyssey, and I'm pretty sure that this is somewhere on planet Earth in Odyssey's world.
Ooh.
We're going to go to New Donk City. You mark my words. I'm saying it now.
I would love to see that. I would love to see that. The only thing I gleaned of the story from the demo was that you're going downwards towards something, because we were on, I think the name of the level, not the mine, but the second level was called Substrata 100.
Yeah, I noticed that. And you and I both found the quote-unquote end of the demo. It sent us back to earlier in the level. But we found Sublayer 1.
Yes. And I thought that was very interesting. So I'm curious to see where this goes. I'm hopeful that we will get a Mario Odyssey-style fan service moment from this game. But sticking to what was there, I have to say I was very impressed by what Nintendo has put together here with DK. I think that they've really revitalized the character. I'm hoping that we see Diddy and Dixie and other characters reinvented in a similar fashion within the game.
I mean, seeing Cranky Kong there, they've got to be in there somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we will get them. I will say this was one of the games that I did notice some performance issues with, though.
Unfortunately, I did too.
Yeah, it didn't seem... It wasn't egregious. It wasn't anything too bad, but in a similar way to Tears of the Kingdom, when you get a lot of physics stuff going on, primarily when you're smashing... Like, you're randomly smashing through lots of stuff, I noticed quite a bit of slowdown. Like a noticeable amount. I would say... I wouldn't even wager what frame rate the game was running at, but you could tell it dropped by about 5 to 10 frames per second at instance, but it would pop right back up.
Yeah, it would. I would say the game, probably by and large, is more performant than Super Mario Odyssey was. Like, the resolution, at the very least, is much higher across the board than that game. Another issue that I ran into, and I don't know if you did, is when you're punching holes in walls and, digging tunnels, the camera just does not know what to do.
There were definitely times where the camera pulled in way too close and I couldn't tell where I was anymore.
Yeah.
I attributed that to maybe me going just a bit too crazy with the destruction mechanics, because I just, without a clue of anything being anywhere, I just decided to start punching holes and stuff and running into those holes further and further.
And I should clarify, I didn't have that problem in the first proper level, after the intro in the mine. Because the mine is designed for you to just cause havoc, right?
Yeah.
The first level felt like a proper a proper Mario level, right?
Yeah. The first real level feels like an actual level that would have been ripped from like a next gen Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah.
The mine level feels very much like it's meant to be a bit more on rails, and I went off them.
It's on rails, but it's also a bit of a playground. Like,
yes.
You can break stuff, so they just made a level where you can break everything.
Exactly. And the one thing I would say is I noticed more performance issues in the mines than in the actual first proper level of the game.
Yeah.
The first level of the game, I don't think that I noticed much of anything.
No, I don't think I did either. Yeah, it ran pretty smoothly. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and the world is big.
Yeah.
They actually show you, like, you get a quick pan across of the entire environment when you first get there, and it stretches out pretty dang far.
And you can open the map and you get like a 3D rendering of the world. And there was a big silhouette of landmass below where we were, which, it sure does seem like dig down is the concept here. And I wonder how that level structure is going to be, because if what we saw in the demo is accurate to the full game, the whole world might be connected top to bottom. And I'm curious how that kind of plays out.
I feel like there must be a mechanic to go back up at some point, because when I got returned to the level, people commented on the things I'd done for them.
DK cannons, those barrel cannons.
Oh, yeah.
Because they do show up in the game.
They do, yeah, you're right. When you leave bonus levels, you still hop in a cannon and get shot back out.
One thing I noticed too, and you probably noticed this yourself, you have the single bananas, and then you have the 3 bananas. It's literally the Odyssey 1 moon, triple moon. But what I discovered was, like, you know, one of the objectives we had to do is we had to beat up a monster, get a key, open this thing that released a bunch of water into the lagoon. And then you got a triple banana as a reward. This is the Super Mario Odyssey level structure. That's how it worked. This is how the story progression works. It's literally lifted from that game.
Yeah, instead of getting in a ship, you're just digging further down, and so it's very interesting to see that. I wonder if DK will get some ability, or has some ability, to just travel to whatever substrata he wants to. But there's a lot of mystery around this game still. But
I did see 4 different collectibles, and the DK64, you know,
oh boy,
feelings are starting to come back, and I'm like, I also saw that you could buy outfits with some of the gold that you can break up in Super Mario Odyssey.
And there's gold everywhere.
Yeah. But this game, I didn't know how to feel during the direct, because like you, I wasn't like a big Donkey Kong guy. I'm a Mario guy, right? Yahoo! But I didn't get that. But at the same time, I did, and maybe more so than ever.
Yeah, it was. I think this is Nintendo making a case for Donkey Kong to people who aren't already in love with the character, and they're doing so incredibly effectively. Because if I had been told that there was that the big Mario game was a Donkey Kong game instead, without seeing it, I probably would not have been very excited at all. But after having seen it and played it for like 20-ish minutes, those were some of the most enjoyable minutes that I spent in the entirety of the day playing Switch 2.
Absolutely.
My only regret is that this isn't day one, but it's so close behind that I'm not too worried about it. Mario Kart World is going to keep my time until then.
Oh yeah. I'm glad it's so close to launch, though, unlike Odyssey, which was, you know, end of that year, or near the end of that year. The one thing before we wrap up here, the most important piece of information that we have forgotten to mention, the L button lets Donkey Kong whistle.
That's right.
He whistles a tune, and I also found out it's a gameplay mechanic. There was another bonus level that had like a bunch of like police tape from the new big bad, and to get rid of it, I had to sing.
Oh, wow.
And the song made it go away. So for all you John Cartwrights out there, there's a sing button, and that's really important, and I needed you to know that. But again, we've got a lot more Switch 2 games to talk about still. Make sure you subscribe to GVG to get all of those as soon as they come out throughout the day. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video, leave a comment, tell us what you're most excited about Donkey Kong Bananza, and banana slammer that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. Keep the games good and the vibes greater. Bye-bye.
Bye.